The Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa. The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
Welcome to the home of debate, the Great Debaters Contest. We have pitched camp in the Rift Valley. This is our Nakuru edition. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Today we have a very special debate in which we have Moi High School Kabarak facing the Commonwealth of the Great Debaters Contest. The motion is, gender equality is fundamental for the development of Africa.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, how do you do? I am here to firmly oppose the point that gender equality is fundamental for the development of Africa. Now, first things first, we have to define these terms. Gender equality. This is where the aspirations, needs, and ideas of both men and women are equally favored. What about fundamental? This is of central importance. Now, let me ask you, audience, is gender equality really fundamental for Africa to develop? I beg to differ. Every environment contains a bed of construction and of destruction. Our bed of construction in Africa lies not in gender equality. Rather, it lies in the 5-point plan that myself and my teammates will point out. First of all, good leadership. Secondly, security. Thirdly, eradicating ethnicity. Fourth, good education. And fifth, eradicating corruption. What we should really be focused on is great leadership in Africa. Africa is termed the poorest continent. Why? We are not poor, but when the colonialists left, they simply left through the front door and entered through the back. In Africa, we are taught to be consumers. Can you imagine? We export timber to import toothpicks. After 40 years of independence, we have not achieved true independence. Leaders, have you no say? A body without a brain cannot function. A society without a leader is likewise. Now tell me where gender equality at this point shows its importance. Let's take an example of Idi Amin of Tanzania. He expelled all foreigners in Uganda, and we all know that foreign exchange is of importance. We had to have an expatriate, Kofi Annan, to come and solve our problems for us. He did not slap anyone. He simply slapped the sense into people. And that is exactly what we need. Good leadership, and it is not simply guaranteed by gender equality. Rather, it's guaranteed if we elect the right leaders to lead our Africa into greater heights. My second point is security. Let's analyze recent AMISOM attacks. In June 2015, 54 Burundians were killed. September 2015, Ugandan troops were killed. Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria. Lord Resistance Army in Uganda. Yet we still stand to say that with gender equality, that we will achieve security in Africa? No. Tell me, Judge Major, how I can live in peace with such conditions. Scarcity of teachers in Garissa because they fear attacks from Al-Shabaab. Judge Minor, how are we meant to develop if we are crippled with fear? Fear of job transfers to the unknown, fear of interacting with our fellow Africans. How will gender equality solve these problems? Right now, we should be focused on this. Then maybe we can focus on gender equality. My name is Ivy Chirok from Moi High School, Kabarak.
Thank you very much. So I was listening to what you said, and it's no lie that the 5-point plan you have stated is very clear. Good leadership, security, ethnicity, corruption. But I think it's very wrong to say that we can have these things without gender equality being in the mix. For example, if we talk about good leadership, can we really have good leadership if we don't have gender parity? If, for example, the third gender rule is not upheld? Is it possible for us to say that we are a secure nation if women do not feel safe? Yeah? As other facts, the countries that are ranked highest when it comes to gender parity are like Iceland, Finland, Sweden, and they are some of the most developed nations in the world, some of the most peaceful, some of the most secure, with the least amounts of corruption and all these things. So what is it that they're doing right that we aren't? Could it be that gender parity is what they have right and what we have wrong? In Kenya, not in Kenya, in Africa, Rwanda is a leader and is growing very fast at a rate that is unprecedented. and they have actually a parliament that is more women than men. So is that something they're doing right and that the rest of us are doing wrong? Yeah, that's just my challenge to you, okay?
I would take the members of the opposition back to history. Understanding the gender roles between men and women was very paramount in ensuring that the community ran very well, such that we had a system of division of labor that ensured women did their part and men did their part. I.e., that is to say that for a community to actually sustain itself, we need to actually work together. Both men and women must be viewed from an equal standpoint so as to ensure that the community moves forward and facilitates development. Looking back, let's look at the Agikuyu community. We knew that there are particular tasks that women ensured were done within the society. If they weren't done, the society would have a problem. Look at it this way. Women used to take care of the children. Women used to store food. Women used to manage the home. What if that did not occur? We'd have a problem in which the men, there's a lot of domestic violence or maybe domestic problems that would cause instability within the community. So knowing that Africa is a communal-based society, don't you think that us understanding gender equality would facilitate sustainability and, in turn, development?
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Every culture presents with it a different civilization. That's the main point. Marion, look at the role of ethnicity in African conflicts. Look at Rwanda, 1994 genocide. 1 million people killed in 1 month. Now look at this. It was mainly Hutu, Tutsi. It was not women, male. See, even if gender equality is achieved, 50-50, ratio of men to women in power, but ethnic minds are still in power, it changes nothing. Education. I've outlined about our 5-point plan. Ethnicity, education, leadership, corruption, and insecurity. Let's look at education. You see, if African Renaissance is to happen, it will start with decolonization of the mind, which starts in schools. Now, institutions of learning are core to improvement of education, because quality of education matters a lot when it comes to changing the thoughts of someone. Most African school systems are those which were inherited from colonialists. Now, colonialists left systems which were meant to make an Africa feel minimal. You see, Ivy told you, we export timber to import toothpicks, courtesy of an education system left by colonialists, which is still running 50 years later from independence. Now, we should invest in an education system which dwells on the power to innovate, think, and utilize knowledge, because this is what is central to development. Talking about gender equality as fundamental to development in Africa will be misplacement of priorities. Right now, Africa faces war. Africa faces civil wars, Africa faces famine. Africa faces diseases. But will gender equality eradicate diseases? No. Who will eradicate diseases? It's the leaders and us. Will gender equality eradicate ethnic wars? No. Who will eradicate ethnic wars? It's the leaders we elect and us. So, if I'm to oppose this motion, I stand to be corrected if I say that it's a measure equal to ignorance to say that gender equality is the African answer to the question, which are the challenges facing our development today. Thank you.
Examining gender in the African society is a very instrumental part in understanding the problems that we face. You're talking about war, you're talking about all the problems such as corruption. That is because from ourselves, from the basic unit of society, the family, which is made up of a mother, father, and a child, perhaps, depending on your version, we understand that relationships between that mother and that father will greatly influence the society when both families or many families meet up and create a community. Hence, you will have problems such as ethnicity, because if it started from the home, then it will progress to the society. So if we ensure that men and women understand their roles within the family, they can project that into the society. And therefore, we'll understand that by we having men and women having their diverse roles, in unity is the only way in which we can achieve sustainable development. So we understand that we must unite as men and women. In the society's context, we must unite as tribe to move forward. So if we instigate gender equality, we will be solving the problem from the smallest unit of society. That is like getting a virus and killing it from the nucleus, not when it's already spread to the entire body. So in terms of your 5-point plan, we need to attack the nucleus, the family, the man, the woman, and the child.
I still feel like my previous questions went unanswered. Your 5-point plan is really great, but I feel like you haven't realized that your 5-point plan in itself, for it to be successful, would need to include gender equality. I need you to prove to me that you can have good leadership without it being inclusive of women. I need you to tell me that a system of leadership is okay and it's running smoothly when it doesn't have gender equality. I need you to tell me that a country is secure when the women there do not feel safe. I need you to tell me that education has, that you have achieved your educational goals as a nation when half your women are not educated, when it's just the guys going to school and moving on to university and ending up being the breadwinners and the makers of the nation. So when you prove to me that your 5-point plan does not include gender equality in itself, then I think you can tell me that gender equality is not fundamental to the development of Africa.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register. The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
So the opposers have been asked questions by the audience. They have been asked for how long do we plan to ignore gender equality issues in Africa, given that so far we've not been doing very well developmentally. And they've also been asked how badly would we have fared had it not been for the fact that our country is led by a man and the CS for defense is female. Opposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
I am here to firmly oppose the motion that states gender equality is fundamental for the development of Africa. That if KDF was being led by a woman, we would be doing better. I think that is a fear of the unknown. We are saying that gender equality does not guarantee that our country will have been safe. Yes, we're not saying that men are the ones supposed to be in power or women. We're saying that gender equality will not guarantee the safety of our country. You asked that over the 50 years that a man was in charge, we didn't have development, but it was because of the 5 things that we talked about: leadership, eradication of corruption, eradication of ethnicity, education. So my colleagues have talked about leadership, ethnicity, and security, and I'll talk about corruption. According to Transparency International, 75 million people pay bribes in sub-Saharan Africa. 58% of people say corruption is on the rise in sub-Saharan Africa. Corruption leads to the loss of public money that could have been used for beneficial projects such as building roads, schools, and hospitals. Gender equality does not guarantee the eradication of corruption. In Kenya, both men and women have been accused of corruption. Take examples of the former cabinet secretaries being associated with embezzlement of funds. We should look at solutions to corruption, such as strict penalties for people found guilty of corruption, demanding accountability from people in charge of public money. These are the solutions that will lead to the development of Africa. The bottom line is that there are bigger problems facing Kenya than lack of gender equality. Africa is the richest in terms of natural resources, but we are still behind in development. We are not behind in development due to lack of gender equality, but because of poor leadership. The solution to this is to make sure that the people enter into leadership positions are people who have been educated and they are aware of their roles. The greatest crisis lies in the issues we have handled in our 5-point plan and not gender inequality. Thank you.
We'll still hear your final submission. You have a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, It's unfortunate that I believe we have strayed away from the main point at hand. We are asked whether gender equality is fundamental for the development of Africa. Do we understand the word fundamental? We are not saying that gender equality should not be practiced. Rather, how sure are we that if we achieve this gender equality, what will happen if these leaders that we elect are still corrupt? What will happen if we do not have the right education? What will happen if we still practice the same ethnical values? So please, let's get the question right. Let's put more focus on the main things which are affecting our Africa, and then we can focus on gender equality as a whole. Thank you.
What I'd like to say is that, ladies and gentlemen, men and women, you see, our own language even tells us that we must always exist together. Mwanaume, mwanamke. You understand? So I'd like all of us who love cooking to get a bowl, mix men and women, stir it very well, and what you get is our differences coexisting in equality to sustain African development.
Gender equality is fundamental for the development of Africa, and you're opposing the motion. I would want to commend T-Rock for the amazing start that you had. Good submissions, very confident, and of course a good ending as well. That was quite catchy. I think you have a presence when you come to the stage. You're not intimidated, even if you're debating against who, all right? Which is quite a very good character that you have. However, when the bell goes, okay? Yeah, you don't have any discussion with time, so kindly just observe time whenever you come across that. Denzel Minor, wow, I would say amazing cross-examination, okay? You came and stood out very strong as well, and you were not intimidated, and you gave out your views. That was amazing, okay? And I applaud your confidence. You even faced your opponents to give your submissions with confidence. Arnold Umbasa, just a little bit of improvement, okay? I mean, you can make a great speaker. I think you just need to observe on the monotony. I don't know whether you panicked a bit, or something happened, but I think you can make a great speaker with just practice, okay? Everybody was not born a speaker, but they practice with time and they become better. So keep doing that, all right? But I think for you, as a team, you did very well. All the best.
All right, a short observation. Ivy, it was a good start. I think it has been mentioned. The issue of time is what we'll always address. The disadvantage is definitely you lose marks, especially when the bell goes more than 2 times. You know, definitely you lose some points. But it was a good start, and what I borrow from you, we export timber to import toothpick. That was an interesting one. But maybe there is a point here that gender inequality could be contributing in a way to the problems that we are having, so that we cannot delink one, we cannot delink it. I thought that was an interesting argument, but I loved your cross-examination in as much as it might not have been in-depth. Arnold, there's a problem with submission. I mean, bumpy submission. Forgive me, I called it weak submission. You really need to work on your style of presentation. You see, if the first 2 speakers are strong and then you chip in and your presentation is not that good, then definitely the team loses marks. So I want you to work on your presentation and work on your teamwork. Otherwise, it was a very good presentation by Ivy and very good cross-examination and confident speaker, Denzel. Arnold, not that you've let your team down, but you can always do something to make a better debater.
Ivy, great public speaking skills. Of course, it's been pointed out the mistake that you did at the very beginning on Idi Amin from Uganda, not from Tanzania. But we did understand. Sometimes you can panic and say the wrong things. However, you had some good points, well researched. Denzel, good points. And especially the one on the ethnic minds, that was mind-boggling. It kept me thinking. Arnold, you can make it. All right, you can make it. I think a question was thrown from the audience that threw you off, and you almost forgot all the points you'd prepared. But I want to encourage you that debating is a skill, public speaking is a skill that can be learned, and you're on the right track, okay?
Moi High School Kabarak, you have managed to garner 70%. You're our winners for the debate.
thank you to the audience and, of course, ourselves for trying to give them a challenge. And, of course, thank you for watching as well. Congratulations to Moi High School Kabarak. Follow us on Twitter at Great Debaters EA and on all our other social media platforms. I have been your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register. The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.